So, I'm a huge fan of YouTuber Preston Jacobs and his theories about A Song of Ice and Fire. And a few months ago, he made a video series on House Targaryen and how the Dragon X gene has always been there. And it is the Dragon X gene that's responsible for the dragon riding and the dragon hatching abilities in Targaryens. Single Dragon X gene means a dragon rider, two Dragon X genes means a hatcher. Only a female can hatch eggs then because of the two X's, and it's a pretty great series. He does this for the entire Targaryen dynasty in Westeros, and if you've read Song of Ice and Fire books, or even if you've just seen the show, you should check it out if you haven't already. Single X should make them just as good as male skin changers. Like in the Dragon X gene, where you have so many female dragon riders, if not hatchers. But when you look at the skin changers, then out of all the known skin changers, only 3 of them are females, and none of them have shown any extraordinary skin changing abilities. I mean, Arya is pretty strong, but it was all because of the blindness that she went through. So to me, it is something more. I mean, it's definitely not a Y gene. There have been women skin changers, a few they may be, but it may be just that it is some gene that is neither X nor Y, but then there would be nothing to go on, although that is a possibility. But let's see, if it has to be an X, then I think it is one in which women are the carriers of it. Like, if a woman has a skin changing X gene, then she's a carrier, and she herself isn't a skin changer. But if a male has a skin changing X, he is a skin changer. A female can become a skin changer if both the X's are skin changing X's. Like some of the diseases that are much more common in men than in women, like hemophilia or red green color blindness. Women just carry the gene but don't suffer from it if it's just on one X. They only suffer when it's in both X's. But they're common in men because they only have one X, and if it's in that one, then they have the disorder. It could be the same for the skin changing gene, which may explain why only 3 women are skin changers, but that is now too much because in red green color blindness, only 10% of the people who are affected by it are women, but here among 10 skin changers that we know, 3 are women. So maybe the X carrier actually does something which is not quite skin changing, something less than that, something that can also happen to really young boys who haven't quite discovered their power yet, or men with weak skin changing abilities. So, according to Preston, the Knight of the Laughing Tree said that they feel one with the horse. They seem to be doing just that. If you're skin changing into an animal, you know you are skin changing into an animal. You have animal POV. Feeling one with an animal is almost like subconscious telepathy, and it would be the same if it was Liana, a female, or Benjen, a young boy at the time. This is what Bran and Jon seem to be doing to Summer and Ghost respectively, early on in Game of Thrones and Clash of Kings, when their moods change, when Bran's and Jon's mood change. Now, the skin changing and the Dragon X gene both seem to be telepathic genes, and before talking about Danny, I want to talk about the differences between these two. The skin changing gene seems to affect any animal but a dragon, because a dragon is different. It's clearly different from other animals. It breathes fire, and the question of what feeds a dragon flame has already been raised in the series. And it's said that dragons are fire made flesh, and if we accept Preston's theory that the world of ice and fire is post apocalyptic, and the first men that built structures like the Wall and Storm's End and defeated a race that could enter your dreams were technologically advanced, then it is safe to assume that people in the East were also technologically advanced at that time. The Valyrians could have been doing genetic experiments, and maybe they were successful in turning fire into flesh to create creatures like fireworms and then genetically transform them into dragons. Which brings us to the Dragon X gene. Someone with it can have a telepathic connection with fire made flesh, or fire, but in the form of flesh. Assuming that Valyrians did what I just assumed they did. So a dragon rider can have a subconscious telepathic connection with a dragon. Now, Danny, if she is the daughter of Rhaegar and Lyanna, she has one Dragon X gene and one skin changing gene, so she can subconsciously connect with animals and subconsciously connect with fire made flesh. So, what if you get something like a Volcrin near her and she can subconsciously control fire without the flesh form? So now it's not telepathy anymore because it isn't alive. It's now subconscious pyrokinesis. And I think that Preston believes in that too. In the presence of the Volcrin, the Dragon X gene has been enhanced, and so subconscious pyrokinesis was possible. And the work of two Dragon X's was done by just one, probably with the help of the recessive skin changing gene, whose effect is also now heightened. Plus, there was also teak. So it's all lining in with Preston's theory about A Song of Ice and Fire being science fiction. I guess the problem I had with it was just with the skin changing gene being identical to the Dragon X gene except for just the function. But I just thought that maybe skin changing is a bit more recessive than the Dragon X. Okay, now about teak. Is belief meant to make a difference? If so, what if someone who does not have a skin changing gene but is like otherkin? I mean, it is a strong belief, right? Like, Bran and Arya seem to believe it somewhat. They like to pretend that they are wolves. Jon is also a warg, but he does not experience warging that much. Well, maybe that's because he resists it, because he's been with the wildlings who do this. I'm not saying that Bran and Arya are otherkin, but what if someone in this universe is? I don't know, it's just a thought I had. Okay, so I have some more Song of Ice and Fire related videos in mind, and a few weeks ago I made a video on the Coen Brothers movie, Serious Man. You can check that out. It was my first video. The editing was pretty bad. Not that it's any good here. And now, in the next video I have in mind is an analysis of the movie Short Bus. Or maybe it's Inside Llewyn Davis I'd be working on. So until then, goodbye and take care.